I supported Tulsi Gabbard in her campaign in 2020. And the reason why was because she was the only person, and certainly the only person elected, who was telling the truth about Syria. The Syrian war was just like Iraq, was just like Libya, was just a garbage war that was manufactured to funnel money to the military-industrial complex and for fossil fuel companies. That's what this was about. Right. And so she was willing to tell the truth about it. And she was elected and she was in the military. People forget, why did they all turn on Tulsi Gabbard? I'll tell you why everybody turned on Tulsi Gabbard when she was the darling, when she endorsed. She stepped down as the vice chair of the Democratic National Committee because she didn't like how they were treating Bernie Sanders, and she wanted to endorse Bernie Sanders, and she was right. And she was a hero to everybody for doing that. And then when did they turn on her? When she started to tell the truth about the Syrian war. When she started to tell the truth about the war is when the media turned against her, and then all the Elizabeth Warren supporters turned against her, and then even Bernie Sanders turned against her because he's a bitch for the military-industrial complex too. That's what happened. That's why people turned against Tulsi Gabbard. She was always a supporter of Medicare for all. That's a lie when they say she wasn't. And the reason why they turned on her, meaning the Democrats, the lefties, people who were former Bernie supporters, Elizabeth Warren, the reason why they turned on her is because she told the truth about our foreign policy. And that's what made her such a hero to me. And here it is right here. Look at this. She used to say this: Israel needs to stop using live ammunition in its response to unarmed protesters in Gaza. It has resulted in over 50 dead and thousands seriously wounded. And that's the Tulsi Gabbard. That's the good Tulsi. And
this is from before the 2018.
This is from 2018. Right. Yeah. And so here she is now, and it's another RFK Jr. It's like, how could you be so right? How could you be so right about the Ukraine war? How could you be so right about Joe Biden and the Democrats, the money in politics? How could you be so right about all those Syria? How could you be so right about that and then be so wrong about this? So here, let's play it.
I don't know if Kamala knows what she's up to, but the reality here is when you look at things like what Representative Cori Bush is saying, what the Squad is saying, what so many of these other people are saying who are accusing Israel of committing a genocide, it is the height of hypocrisy because they're...
Wait a minute.
Jesus.
Hang on, we'll play it a little more.
Apologists and supporters of these Islamist Hamas terrorists who are calling for a genocide, the extermination of all Jews, not just in Israel, but around the world. And we're seeing this being carried out by these violent...
So she's saying the Squad and the people supporting Palestine are the height of hypocrites, the height of hypocrisy. Did the Squad commit genocide? Wow, I didn't think they could get anything done. I wonder why she... So she was labeled an Assad toady when obviously this sounds like she's an AIPAC toady.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, here we go.
Mobs and threats and other things that are happening against Jewish people literally around the world. And the worst part is they're doing this under the guise of, well, we care about innocent people and we don't want people to get hurt, when in fact they are in essence supporting and apologizing for the barbaric actions of Hamas against innocent women, children, and civilians.
So that is just heartbreaking to me, right? Because as a former supporter of Tulsi, the reason why I supported her is because she didn't do propaganda like this. And now this is 100% propaganda. Nobody supports Hamas killing innocent people. That's garbage. We do support that anybody who's being occupied has a right to fight back and defend themselves. Anybody who's being... And the occupier always has a greater moral responsibility to the occupied. Gaza's an open-air prison. Gaza, it's an apartheid state. They don't allow... So that's like if you were the warden of a prison and there was a criminal element inside your prison. Well, but there were some violent people inside trying to kill prison guards, and you just decided to bomb the whole prison. That's what they're doing in Gaza right now, and they're bombing children. They're bombing hospitals. They're doing collective punishment. They're committing war crimes. So if you could say that Hamas committed war crimes in their attack on October 7th, why can't you say the same thing about Israel? So she has a blind spot on this, and it's the worst kind of blind spot you can have, because she's apologizing for genocide and attacking innocent babies, children, You know what? Remember when they were saying, "Oh, Hamas cut the heads off of 40 babies," and you know what I say? Well, why don't they just blow their heads off with a nice Christian bomb made by Christians in America? Because that's what they've been doing ever since. And so this is why this is nuts.
How about all the Jews we saw in a video getting beat up by IDF soldiers?
Yeah. What about
that looked a little bit Germanic?
That's right. So if you're against Zionism and you're a Jew, the IDF comes in and knocks you around and throws you.
Sick of you not helping out with the genocide.
That's right.
Part.
No. So there's more to this.
I called it creating the monster, like they're Dr. Frankenstein. And now the monster in their progressive wing is turning against them. But they're trying to pretend like this is kind of a shocking development. It's not a shocking development.
No. Well, you know what is shocking? That I found out that Israel actually funds Hamas.
Yeah, no kidding.
That would be. So you're upset at someone else. You're not upset at Benjamin Netanyahu. The Frankenstein that was created by Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, who said, if you're for Israel, you'll be for funding Hamas. And why are they funding Hamas? They're funding Hamas because they don't want the Palestinian Liberation Organization to be the governing body in Gaza. They want to have a terrorist organization or someone they can label as a terrorist organization to give them the pretext to go in and mow the people down in genocide, do collective punishment, commit war crimes, and then steal their land. That's what's going on right now. And the fact that she can't stand up for this is heartbreaking to me.
And by the way, Laura Ingram's got some nerve calling people Frankenstein with that long square head.
Jesus.
This has always been there, but it's also deeply anti-American, is it not?
It is. And it is against the very foundational principles and values of.
So now she sounds like George Bush and Dick Cheney around the Iraq War. Anybody who opposes genocide now in Gaza, anybody who opposes the United States of Israel is now anti-American. That's what they said about you.
Values.
That's what they said about you. They called you a Russian puppet, a Putin apologist, an Assad toady. They called you anti-American because you had the guts and the integrity to stand up and tell the truth about Syria. And now you're doing it to the exact. You're just like them. You became the thing you hate. And so that's why this is an unbelievable tragedy for me personally, but it's an unbelievable tragedy for the country because Tulsi was one of the few people standing up for American interests, and American interests are to stop being the terrorist of the world, which the United States is. The United States is the world's terrorists. We're the world's terrorists in Syria, Afghanistan, Libya, Iraq, and the Sudan, Yemen, and look what we're doing, sanctions on Venezuela.
Blew up that pipe to Germany's pipe to get natural gas from Russia.
We blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. We did terrorism to Europe. We did terrorism. We're the terrorists. Nobody else is worse than us. But if you stand up against that kind of terrorism in the Middle East right now, she'll call you anti-American. And that is pretty despicable. And if she wants to come on the show and defend that, it's indefensible. It's easy to sit there with an idiot like Laura Ingraham and repeat propaganda, but there's no defending this position.
Yeah, she's hit every line of the advertisement you're supposed to hit.
That's right.
Barbaric. Laura Ingram's her handler is how I look at it now.
And she knows damn well that it's the United States that funded ISIS, that funded the Mujahideen, that funded all these radical groups that she's talking about over here, these Islamist groups. She knows damn well that all these groups have been funded by the United States.
What about our foundational value of free speech that they all turned against, by the way?
They're all against it.
All of them. Oh, no, this is goes against our foundational values. I'll let you talk.
We are as a country. These Democrats, they have called people like me an Islamophobe for many years just for speaking the truth.
What? We called you a toady to Assad.
No, they called you an Assad toady. They called you a Putin puppet. And
what are you jumping on, though? We're going to have our old-timey wars back against Islam? Is that what this is?
Yes.
Like how Disney's bringing back Robert Downey Jr. to be Iron Man?
Yeah.
We're going to bring back Islam terror?
That Islam are the terrorists.
Oh, we're rebooting. Why is the world Disney?
Even though she knows that we funded the ISIS, we invented the Mujahideen, which became Al-Qaeda. We invented all that stuff. And we fund it. And Israel funds Hamas.
Mm-hmm.
about radical Islam, about the threat that this Islamism poses to the freedom and peace and security of the American people.
Wait, is it worse than
There's
incels?
nothing poses a greater threat to the security and peace of the American people than the U.S. foreign policy. That's what causes terrorism. We fund it. We create them. We create a thing called blowback. You know where that term comes from? That term comes from the CIA for the things that they do. When they go in and decapitate a country and create a civil war and wreck it and kill millions of people, displace millions more, then that creates more terrorists. Do you really think that if they wiped out every last member of Hamas, that's not in the process of doing that? They're creating many, many, many more terrorists.
Well,
Okay.
I gotta say, Jimmy, after that 20 years of our disastrous, failed wars in the Middle East, it was pretty nice of the Islamists to take a break from terror on us for a while, wasn't it? Just let the incels and the Trumpers pick up the terrorism.
Right? Yeah. So now,
All the fake groups the FBI had to make for terrorism.
that's right.
Mm-hmm.
And people around the world.
Well, do you believe, as do some of these Republicans in the Senate, that we should be bringing in more Afghan refugees? We brought in, 80, 90,000. We didn't vet any of them. I'm sure some of them are great people and helped us in Afghanistan. But do we have 80,000 interpreters or drivers? I mean, I don't think so.
There are many, unquestionably.
Yeah.
But just like we're so concerned about Biden's open borders and the fact that we've got millions of people coming in who are not vetted in any way, shape, or form, who have not been checked.
But they
and
don't
we
share our
know-
values. To Nigel Farage's point as to what
Right.
you're seeing in England,
Right.
This is. They say, oh, you can't call it a clash of civilizations. Why not? It is a clash of civilization. No women's rights, no belief in plurality.
That's why we
I
fight.
hate this part. Oh,
That's why we fight. They don't have enough pluralism.
yeah.
That's why we support Israel.
We support Israel, who doesn't have gay marriage.
They don't have pluralism in Israel. The whole point of Israel is that it won't be pluralism. That's why you can't have just one state where they live together, because they're anti-pluralism.
That's right. They want to have an ethno-state. That's what Israel is. They're against pluralism. They're against gay marriage.
Share our values that their lives are worthless. Is that the one they don't share with us?
Going against American foundational principles. Is that what they said?
Yeah, right.
So you mean one of the greatest American foundational principles is pretending that a genocide isn't genocide.
Yeah,
Apparently.
manifest destiny.
Yeah.
One of our foundational.
The dignity of the individual,
Ooh.
free expression. None of that.
No.
That's not on the
The
table.
dignity of the
And that is
individual.
the hypocrisy of seeing these, the LGBTQIA activists out there
Jesus
holding
Christ.
and waving the trans flag combined with the Palestinian
stupid.
flags. Like they don't.
That's a new level
They
of
don't know
stupid.
and understand
Oh, yeah,
what
it was.
this Islamist ideology is. This radical Islam ideology, where they actually want to kill people. They want to kill those people.
But
specifically.
So all Palestinians are radical Islamists. They want to kill everybody. So that's what that is.
Did you, as you said, the respect for the individual? What does that mean? Does that mean like that thing we watch of Israel dropped a bomb on 400 people to kill one guy because they really respected that one individual?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. And I would say Christian bombs.
Even Wolf Blitzer doesn't go along
Yeah.
with this anymore. Even Wolf Blitzer turned on this. Even Joyanne Reed turned on this. Even so, MSNBC, Wolf Blitzer, they're Holocaust survivors are against this. Holocaust survivors.
I assume that she
Hasidic
got
Jews are against this.
Yeah, she got a subliminal message from
So
a
if
Taylor
Hit-
Swift video probably that clicked her on, and that's
you
why
wanna
she can
say something?
recite.
No, I was just going to say I would assume that Christian bombs have killed a lot more than Islam bombs.
That's right.
You know,
Who
it's-
kills more people? The United States military terroristic organization or fundamental Islamics or the radical Islamists that you... It's the United States. It's not even close.
Yeah.
Well, we
It's
made
not
the
even close. We set the entire Middle East on fire since 2001. The entire Middle East on fire. We did Iraq, million people killed, millions of people displaced. We did Libya. We did Syria. We did Afghanistan for 20 years, all based on lies. We did Yemen, Sudan. And now we're going to do Lebanon and Iran, and she sounds like she's all for it.
We created the goddamn terrorists she's talking about on purpose.
That's right.
So all their killings are our fault too.
Yes.
That's right.
1,000%.
Stochastic terrorism, I believe AOC calls it.
They have to tie Ukraine to Israel because they know Ukraine
won't stand on its
No,
own.
it's not
That funding and again,
over.
they're trying to cheat the American people through their representatives by saying, okay, you support and you want to stand with Israel. Well, guess what? We're going to sneak in all of this other money that we're going to take out of your pocket and your bank account to go and support something that increasingly Americans are understanding.
It's not
this
working.
proxy war against Russia is pushing us closer to nuclear war, and it's not in our best national security interest.
So then she comes out and says something fantastic like that. She's correct like that. And it's great that she's saying that on national news, that this proxy war against Russia is not making us safer. Do you think that Iraq made us safer? Do you think Libya made us safer? Do you think Syria, 20 years in Afghanistan? Do you think supporting genocide in Gaza right now is making us safer? What, the fact that she's able to be clear, have a clear mind and a clear head and tell the truth about Ukraine and our stupid proxy war against Russia is fantastic. But she then again flips her whole everything when it comes to this, and it's horrible.
Well, the Ingram angle here, as it's called, is where I think they're going with this like pageant that I'm watching. Is that memo about Israel's going to just kill them and tell these other countries, hey, if you care so much about them, why don't you take them? We want to make sure that America doesn't take these angry Palestinian refugees, just Canada and Europe. That's the angle here of this. Like, there's no. The things they're saying mean nothing, and you got to just kind of read between it.
And here's so that's heartbreaking. So that's somebody who got my support because she was anti-war and told the truth about things like the proxy war in Ukraine, told the truth about the Syrian war. And that's why people turned on her, because she was telling the truth. And now she's just repeating propaganda.
Yeah. Well, on the plus side, the MK Ultra stripe in her hair looks great.
And here's what Cornel West says about it. Cornel West says the president of the United States, meaning Joe Biden, doesn't need me to spoil his reelection bid. His milquetoast neoliberal agenda leading us into war. He still won't call him a genocider. He still won't call him a fascist, which is what this is. So supporting a genocide of the Palestinian people is milquetoast. He's still because he doesn't want to get his next book deal canceled, and he doesn't want to get disinvited from CNN, and that's what that is ridiculous. That is now clownish to call this guy a milquetoast neoliberal, and he's keep doing it. His milquetoast neoliberal agenda leading us to war, climate calamity, and more poverty is doing that for him. It's time to break the derelict duopoly into tiny little pieces and engender a new U.S. policy rooted in truth, justice, and love. Well, you can't tell the truth about Joe Biden's fascism, so that kind of undermines your call for truth. So, we know what Joe Biden needs, Cornell, is for you to be the pretend candidate who is against genocide to guide voters back into the duopoly.
Yeah. Or if Biden drops out, whoever they pick to replace Biden.
Whoever they pick, yeah.
Yeah.
So this is all heartbreaking to me. It's to see someone like Tulsi, who was willing to stand to slings and arrows to tell the truth about Syria, to tell the truth about Ukraine war and our proxy war with Russia, to get her whole reputation slandered and smeared, and then to just throw it all away.
Yeah,
it's heartbreaking. And the same thing for RFK, who was willing to take all the slanders from the establishment press about the big pharma and vaccine policy and COVID and all that, and then to just throw it all away because they just turn into John Bolton and Dick Cheney and George Bush when it comes to Israel, Palestine, and
turned into Sirhan. Sirhan is what he turned into. So did she.
Yeah. So it's a heartbreak. Yeah. And I remind people, Tulsi spoke at the anti-war rally last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
She spoke at the anti-war. This is the opposite of an anti-war position. This is you are pushing for world, so she can see how Ukraine and the proxy war with Russia will lead to World War III, but she's pretending not to be able to see how what we're doing in the Middle East right now is going to push us towards World War III with Iran, with China, with Lebanon.
It's called money. It's the same blackmail we all have as a society. You don't want your job to be affected, do you? You better go along with. Do you want that new job you want?
Right.
I'm not even talking about Epstein blackmail. I'm talking about just how society set up, and everybody went along. Oh yeah, your job should be on if you go along with the thing. Those students at Harvard, they shouldn't be able to get a job. Like all of them, even if they're not being blackmailed for some dark secretive thing, That's what we have for a system. That's our great system. So it's all blackmail. You're going to say the thing you're going to say, and we're going to do it with your money. Oh, you want to run for president? You need $500 million to run for president. You better say the ad copy perfectly.
I don't think that's what Tulsi's doing. I think that she's willing to walk away from all that stuff, because she did.
Well, then all I can think of
like
is some
she's
kind of
pandering to the populist right is where she wants to go. She's going to eventually run again.
Well, she didn't
maybe.
pander to them in Ukraine. She's not pandering to them in
Well,
Syria.
Ukraine was Biden's war, right? So I think that's why they can do that. You can push against it because it's Biden's war, the same way that it was Bush's war.
All
in
these
Iraq
people that were getting called terrorists, like, how come we're not back fighting the Muslims again? My hopes that they would kind of recognize what a bullshit telling everybody they're terrorist is once they were called terrorists. I think, and by the way, I think a lot of people have picked up on it. Just because these politicians they live in rarefied air where they don't get the message for quite some time. Even when they do get it, they don't get it. Yeah. It's amazing.
You know what's also disappointing about this whole thing too as well? When Tulsi left Congress, you know what one of her last bills she introduced was? It was a ban on ballot harvesting. That's why I loved her too as well. And now she does,
It's a heartbreak. So this is, you can't become, anyway. Okay.
You can't lean on these people like...
We can't have nice things.
We can't have nice things. This is why we can't have nice things.
You got to just treat them like, hey, do the thing that you said you're going to do, and this thing where, like, I believe in you, and you're like Batman, and it's got to go. Ain't no such thing as that. The system is literally set up to not have that, where you could just, that guy was... And by the way, that's how they ruin candidates that want to do a good thing, is... to get you in this thing where you put all your hopes in, I believed in you, and now I don't believe in the thing because you failed me. That's the goal. So just whatever they do, that's what I judge them by. I don't even pay attention to what they say now because you can't.
You can't.
You can't. Just watch what they do. Never, because, bad people do good things, good people do bad things. That's how it works.
Hey, we're doing stand-up comedy in Covina, California, Burbank, California, the day after Thanksgiving, Oxnard, California, Venice, California, Palmdale, California, lots of places in the Southland. Omaha, Nebraska. We're going to be in Omaha. We're going to be in Des Moines, Milwaukee, Lansing, Bend, Oregon, Portland, Oregon, and Seattle, Washington. Plus, we're going to be in Boston, the Wilbur Theater in Boston. See you there.